Lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the.
Good afternoon, good evening. Time is it? It's only 6 o'clock. Welcome to the One Celtic Fans View. And yes, we're not here to take part. We are here to take over. The new season is about to begin. There are currently 29 people online. I put out a thing on the community tab. Let's see if I could share that. Yeah, I put out a thing on the community tab basically asking what time we want the lives to go ahead at. If I go over to the community tab, so if you click on, if you're watching this on replay, put hashtag replay in the bottom so that I know that you're watching the replay. But if you go onto the homepage of the channel and then you click along, you'll see videos, shorts, lives, playlist, and community. Click on the community tab, and then you scroll down and you'll see the first one, and it was put up an hour ago. What time would you like the live chats to be on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? The Sunday ones will stay at 6 p.m. So we've got 5 p.m., we've got 6 p.m., and we've got 7 p.m. And just now we've had 50 votes. I'm going to keep this up until Friday. This Friday's one will be 6 p.m. as normal, but this is for going forward during the season. So I want to try and get as many people on the lives as possible. 7 o'clock seems to be winning. 7 o'clock UK time is the one that's winning at the moment. So let's get back to the live. Hashtag live lol. Kaiser, you madman. Right. Let's go back. I've got an interesting one. The first comment of the day was Dom. And it's maybe a like of Vicky's self. You never know. Like of Vic to Celtic, he says, for 8 million. I've been trying to get some more information on about this. And I've also been looking at Phil Mack. I've been looking at his blog because a few people said there's 104 people online now. A few people said that Phil Mack has been saying that Celtic are still in with a shout to get him. And what seems to be the hold-up is, and I don't know how it's a hold-up. I just had some tapas. I was stuck in my tooth. The hold-up seems to be the sell-on clause. So I'm not sure how they're coming about that. Because Celtic usually do that type of thing quite quick. So there has to be something else in the background. When we talk about Celtic transfers, we'll go into about that in a minute. And there's a player that's still not struck a deal. He was contacted by Sampdoria, and Towering Dutchman that used to play for Barcelona and Chelsea. Talk about him also in this live. I'm not sure how long the live is going to go on today. I'll see. It's never going to go on for 2.5 hours. Be an hour maximum, right? Let's get some of the comments up. James Hill and Mark up the Celtic. Lee Kaiser, Lee Rawson. Just made my dinner now. Turn on the best man online. Steady on. Tam Mack. Belfast is in the house. Patrick. Hashtag lies. Did your missus get a doner kebab? I've just ordered one. No, we made tapas in the house tonight. Kaiser, go to the community tab for us and put that in the community tab and vote in the community tab for us, because that's where I'm not going to look at any, it doesn't matter what happens on the live tonight. I want everyone to go to the community tab and vote in that, and then whatever the biggest vote gets online. So, yep, there she goes. There's the hand of God. That's actually quite good, huh? There we go. Something to keep me cool during this live. Right, so if you haven't voted, there is 153 people online. Try and make sure that you do go to the community tab and vote to see what time we're going to have these lives on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the season. Now, that is unless there is a live game on a Wednesday, because there's more chance of me actually being at the pub to watch the game on a Wednesday, because it's good to go down, and their videos do quite well. One's from the pub, so yeah. And it depends what pub I'm at also. Hail, hail, says Jim. Hail, hail from the Grampian boys are in the house. Hi, says Sean. Baravia is in the house. Craig White, 5 p.m. You'll lose a few folk. 2 Snide, 5 o'clock at night. What time does Snide FM start? 5 at night. Anyway, if it's 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock. There's your drink roll. Evening Troops. Heard all about like of it today. Celtic is back on. There seems to be a few folks saying that, but I'm not. Where are you seeing this? Because I've been doing some searching and I can't see it. Look behind you. I should have watched the comments. What about Maradona? Right, let's jump up the comments. Buenas tardes from Gibraltar is in the house at East London. Paul Kelly from East London's in the house, and Peter down in Gibraltar. How's things down in Gibraltar? It's roasting, isn't it? You've got a little bit of sort of sea har. That's not really. No, you can still see it's just summer, isn't it? Yeah, smash the like, help the YouTube algorithm. Kaiser, cheers for that. And hail from Cumbernauld. What's it called? Cumbernauld. You remember that advert? Anyway, right, let's move on. I voted 7 so I can catch up with the live after work. That's fair play. I mean, everybody's got their reason. But just make sure you do the votes. I'll go back onto the live vote just now and I'll update it. If you're on your phone, you're probably not be able to jump between screens. But if you're on a laptop, you can open up another screen and still vote whilst doing the live. So it's at 55. There has been 56 votes so far, 55%. It's came down a little bit, but 55% is for 7 p.m. So we will go with the majority on this, and I will leave it up for a good few days so that people that come onto the channel that may not be on tonight will get a chance to see it as well. So, yeah, let's catch up. Vincent, everybody's great show from Luton. So there's quite a few people in from different areas. So the first thing I want to talk about is Javier Mumbaba. He is a big Dutch towering guy. It was suggested last week that he was going to Sampdoria for 2 million, but Celtic were after him. Roger were after him back in 2019 it was, and when he was only 17-year-old. But it looks like he's hanging off, and Celtic could still be in there. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of speculation going on about the goalkeeper as well. Hi from Bulgaria. Hi from Sonny Falkirk. A lot of people going on about the goalkeeper. I've never seen nothing that's concrete yet, but you never know with Celtic. There's lots of talk. You know, there'll be lots of things happening. Did the goalkeepers last night prove their worth? You've got to say you've got to have somebody that can dive a bit better and maybe stop shots that are coming from 25 yards out. And a lot of people in the comments from this morning's video was talking about being able to save penalties. We shouldn't be giving penalties away. The defenders should be good enough to not give penalties. But then again, when you see how easily that other mob across the city are diving just now, it's going to be an interesting season. Do the penalty rangers count? And do you know what's even more embarrassing? That is that mob actually have a penalty rangers. You know, anyway, we're not here to talk about them because we're not here to take part. We are here to take over. Yes, I've got the old t-shirt back on. And one thing I want to clear up is a lot of people were up in arms about the Green Brigade last night. Historically, the Green Brigade never go to games, pre-season friendlies and stuff like that, and even testimonials. So people will say, yeah, they should have been to James Forrest's testimonial. Look, these guys go to games week in, week out, the majority of the group. So paying another 25 quid to go to, which is generally just a kickabout, you know, I can understand. But the way that social media is these days, and let's face it, a lot of people that went to the game last night are people that, and this has always historically happened as well, people that go to these type of games are people that don't get tickets on a weekly basis, people that they take their families. You know, it's always family friendly, these type of things. And the fact that it was only 44,000 tells you that. You know, Celtic fans spend a lot of money going to games, so I think it was all blown out of proportion. I didn't want to talk about it last night because it was raw, and I can only talk about my experience from years ago and how the group acts and goes on. They've never historically they never go to meaningless away games. They maybe went to ones. They do go to ones abroad games, but a meaningless one like that, they're not going to go to, I'm afraid. And Nicholas said bad from the Green Brigade. We're going to cut the chat on the Green Brigade there. It wasn't bad for the Green Brigade, Nicholas, but when you understand how much money these guys spend going week in, week out, they've never historically over the last, well, Scott Brown was only the last 10. They never went to Scott Brown's testimonial. They tend not to go to meaningless friendlies. So, you know, people are going to say whatever they're going to say. Are people complaining about the other 15,000 people that have got season ticket holders that didn't go last night? No, they're not. You know, there was quite a lot of the top tier that was empty. There was only 44,000 at the game. So let's just get over it. Get over it. Okay? Did you have to find my time? No, I've been busy all day, mate. Sorry about that, John. I see it's a third horse law. It's not about turning up. I would have sold the seats. Clearly, it's not about the money. The seats weren't paid for because you had to pay for the seats. So it's all about Celtic actually selling that area of seats. So Celtic would have held off and sold that area last. So, you know, Celtic, they weren't included on your season ticket, those games last night. Anybody could have bought tickets for that area. So, you know, anyway, let's move on. Right. Celtic transfers. We're going to talk about the fact that Brendan has come in and the challenges that we've got this season. Now, Brendan Rodgers likes to improve players. Obviously, the biggest thing this season has been the loss of Jota, and people were saying that we're not any better off. When you seen the squad playing last night, and it was a game of two halves, even Brendan says that himself, says the team, what he thought was a stronger team, didn't perform well. Didn't perform well at all. But with that being said, you have had people that were new into the team getting their first game at Celtic and first game at Celtic Park. So we have brought in 25 million. We've spent around about 11.5 million, 12.5 million, you know, and the media are clambering over the fact saying, are we stronger? Of course we're stronger. All we've lost is Aaron Moy through retirement and Jota. We've brought in players that have enhanced the squad, that are going to make the squad better. What a game last night, still recovering. And let's get off. Let's just change some this and we'll do this. Let me just do this before we go on about the Celtic transfer situation, right? So we've brought in Big Rocky. He looked immense last night. He coming from Legia Warsaw for 4.5 million. Other acquisitions, we've brought in Yang. Yang looked really good last night. Marco, we brought Marco in. He's going to be a fantastic winger. Unfortunately, he's injured just now, so we can't comment on how good he's going to be. Odin looked quite good last night. He looked big and strong. The only one that was sort of a bit of a letdown was in the first half, was Kwon. And, you know, he's still got, it's his first game with the squad. So we can't look into it too much. But where Rodgers excels as a manager, and you have to look back to his first time at Celtic. Rodgers, his first time at Celtic, improved Scott Brown, improved McGregor, improved Kieran Tierney, improved Stuart Armstrong. You know, that was players that were at Celtic that improved. I mean, Stuart Armstrong went for decent money. If anybody thought when we bought him from Dundee United, well, we're going to sell him for the money that we did, you would have said, not a chance. But we did. We sold him for some good money. As of Kieran Tierney, it made Kieran Tierney the player that he came through to be. We sold him on for fantastic money. Could he now do the same with Turnbull? You give Turnbull's shot ratio to goals from the edge of the box must be one of the highest at Celtic Park. Will he make Turnbull better? Will he make Bernabei better? Bernabei's another one that scored a goal last night. He's looking like he's going to play Dyson through the middle. Will he make Dyson a better player, playing him in his more favoured natural position that he plays up with the national team? You know, so that could bring a whole new dynamics to the squad. You know, and the fact that Brendan plays a 4-2-3-1, you know, it was successful the first time round. It was kind of successful at Leicester. It got them into Europe and these things, and they won a cup, which they hadn't done for a while. But we do have some early tests. Play Aberdeen away, we play Kilmarnock, we play the Rangers, Sevco as we call them on this channel. And I think getting those games in early, Brendan will want to make sure that we win all those games, and it's going to be throwing the gauntlet down, and it's going to be, so what players are we going to bring? And there's obviously talk about these players that are brought in are more squad players, and Brendan now wants to bring in the whole of the North Curve was missing, yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go back and read that. Where was it? Give me a minute to find this comment. Don't buy it, people. This is a weaker, young. Turn over the player. See, when you're on this bloody thing, you can't, and the comments fly up. Martin, no. Only 44 for hey, even say that in English, Barry. Yeah, 44,000. That's great for a testimonial. Hail, the king is in jail from Dubai. Ritz, hi from Dubai. Half watching the second half last night. And then doing the keeper. The whole North Curve was missing. Yeah, that's what I found interesting. The whole North Curve was missing. And it was only 44,000 at the game. Now, Celtic don't speak on behalf of the whole North Curve. Right? So you would only get the bottom tier. If the Green Brigade are going to walk out, if they're going to do it, and if they've got any protests, it's only going to be the bottom half of the North Curve. The fact that the majority of the top half of the North Curve wasn't there either, they're not in the Green Brigade. They're nothing to do with the Green Brigade on that behalf. So people spend a lot of money going to games. So, people that spend 25 quid to go to one testimonial, these guys spend thousands a year going to games. You take in 600, 700 pounds for your season ticket. You take money going to the game. You then take your bevy on the day. You then take the fact that a lot of the Green Brigade and a lot of people for the top of the North Curve, when you had the bigger allocations, all got tickets for away games. Now, the fact that these allocations have now been cut, it's going to be even harder for people to get away tickets. So the ones that do, your away game ticket is never under £30. Right, you then got your bus to the game, which is generally between £15 and £20, right? And then you've got your bevy for the day and something to eat. So that's twice a week. Sometimes it can, sometimes it'd be 3 times a week, twice a week. So let's move on from it. Let's move on from last night and the fake. I'm going to put it down as fake social media outrage, because that's what it is. I'm sorry. That's my own personal opinion. Everyone might have their own personal opinion, but I know that the fact that both groups, the boys weren't even there last night. There was no outrage about the boys not being there, and they're in a different part of the stadium. So people are very selective on their Celtic Twitter, and Celtic social media can sometimes just be a bit crazy. And as one group member said today, you must remember we're performing monkeys. We're performing monkeys, which is true, which is something that's been said throughout the group for a long time. Right, let's get back to the Celtic transfer situation. And where was that one I was looking at? Right. Players that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, there was probably about 6 players that we thought were definite for leaving. So the first one that I want to talk about is obviously Ajeti, right? Now, that clown has refused to take Celtic's payment to finish his contract early, and he's happy to just sit in the background. Celtic should just make sure that he never plays football, never gets near the pitch, and sits on rocks for a year. Soro, there's been talk today that Soro has gained a bit of interest, and there are a few teams in for Soro. He's another player that's never been seen this pre-season, so he's obviously out the door also. James McCarthy. James McCarthy is going to be one of those quiz questions in years to come. What fantastically great, talented player that Celtic once wanted for millions, then came to Celtic and never played a game. And it's James McCarthy. Patrick, what are you on about? If Hatate wants to leave this window, Hatate doesn't want to leave. He's come out and said that. Another player that we thought would probably leave this one. So we've spoken of James McCarthy, we've spoken of Soro and Ajeti. So there's 3 definites that could probably still leave this transfer window. Now, thrown into the mix now are 3 players that have played a lot of minutes during the pre-season. One is Stephen Welsh. Everyone thought Stephen Welsh would be out the door. He's had a not bad pre-season. He's had some games time. Another one, Turnbull, we spoke about him. He had a fantastic goal last night. So Turnbull, he's not going anywhere. People have said that Turnbull's done it. He's never Celtic class. Turnbull's got in his locker goals like that. You've got to remember, Turnbull's only 24. He's still only 24. Turnbull came to the club as a teenager. Do you know what I mean? He was still, he's been at the club a long time. He is still only young. And then there's Liam Scales. Liam Scales has, I wouldn't send him to Aberdeen now just because Aberdeen have reduced the away allocation. I wouldn't send him to Aberdeen just out of pure spite for reducing the away allocation. I would keep him at Celtic and get him some game time through the season at Celtic rather than put. And I understand Brendan's thought, maybe put him on loan to get him the game time. But I swear to God, after Aberdeen cutting the allocation, I'd keep Turnbull, keep Scales, keep them, and don't make them any stronger. Bugger them. If teams want to try and punish us and it's maybe a harsh word saying punish us. They're saying that they're looking after their own fans. They don't want out. So it's the same thing as what the Rangers did back in 2019 when they were fed up with 7,500 Celtic fans singing because they were winning, as we always do. And I was corrected. It has been 20 years of domination. It has been. In fact, there's a fan base at Celtic just now that have never known Rangers domination. There's a generation of Celtic fans that have never known a dominant Rangers. And for me, that's absolutely fantastic. Puts the 90s into perspective, that we now have a group of Celtic fans, and most of them are probably in the Ultras groups and things like that. But, there's a group of fans, there is a selection, a wide range of fans that go to Celtic that have never known a Rangers to be dominant, which is great because it shows what they did in the 90s was kind of a one-off, and what we've done in the last 20 years is just hard work and a well-run club. Right, let's get back to the comments. Let's get some comments up. Goalkeeper, left back, left winger, and striker, especially for Europe, says Michael the boy. There has been a lot of speculation about the goalkeeping situation, and there's a lot of people saying today that we might be getting our man from Croatia. An interesting drink. It's a protein shake. I never drank into this, but I was needing it tonight for this. A left back and a left winger. Who would you bring in at left back, and what winger would you need? Remember, we've still got Marco to come in, so I'm not too worried about the winger and the wingers just yet. Turnbull looked better in possession. Position than Matt O'Reilly. Calmack, all three can play. Yeah, I think Hatate would be better coming off the bench, making key passes against tired defences. Bars, Rocco Vata. I'm surprised that Rocco Vata hasn't been getting some game time recently. They're maybe getting told that they're going back into the B team and that they'll be brought in during the season. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird one. The violin, get the ball into the box. Right. Sevco, the undead. Yep. Anybody feel like his head is somewhere else? That's an interesting one. I think it's just the slog of pre-season. I think Maida looks a different. I still think we need a top target man. Yes, we do. We've been saying it for years. We need someone who can knock the ball down for Kyogo. Yep, and a batter and ram at crosses. Well, talking about batter and ram at crosses, Brian, when you look at, it'll be interesting to see when Big Rocky and Cameron play together, because they're big, two colossal guys, and you're going to expect a few headers from them from defence this for corners this season, I would expect. Anyway, let's see what James says. Maida looks completely different player since Brendan's came in and had him hitting the line and whipping the ball in. I don't think I've seen him cut back once. Yeah, that's true. 1888 CFC's the Green Brigade with it, Bruni's testimonial. Not according to some of the guys that was seen on Twitter anyway, they weren't. But anyway, it's the fact that, let's move on from it. Bernabe, the boys weren't there either. Yeah, I know that. Right, Bernabe, I mean, no more predictive text, lol. Anyway, not every fan lives in Glasgow. This is true, Sean. Not every fan lives in Glasgow. And when you take, I know that the Kirkcaldy bus, I don't think the Kirkcaldy bus ran last night. You take it as, it's 25 quid for the game. It's a week before this. It's not even a week. It's a midweek game. It's a Tuesday night before the season starts. So, none of the buses for down south were coming. The Grampian bus go down. I doubt it. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of buses that wouldn't have been there. I spent a fortune on Celtic's NCFC. One season, I spent, without a word of a lie, about 6-7 grand watching Celtic. And that's without a word of a lie. That season, I did have 2 tickets for the Celtic Club Lounge. So I had those seats, which kind of pushed the price up. But there was one time I had 3 season tickets. So, I've spent my fair share. I've earned my keep from Celtic. It's I've paid my dues over the years. And it's great doing this channel because then I don't have the cost that I did have when I watched Celtic. Yeah, I mean, it must have been well over 7 grand. Because when I left the Club Celtic Lounge, these tickets were 2 grand a seat. So the Club Celtic Lounge is where if you see where the Green Brigade section is, and the leather seats that are just up to, if you're standing pitch side looking up, just up to the left-hand side, those seats there are 2 grand a seat. And I had 2 of them. And it's nothing. And you had to pay for your drink. That's the worst thing about it. You're paying 2 grand a seat and you've still got to buy drink. Raging. Yeah, it was raging. Anyway, never run. I'll be in Mbappe. Let's move on. My son's room is like Celtic shop. Let's jump forward and see some comments, and then we'll look at always looking better. No, that's Kaiser 6'8". Oh, looked good last night. Good. G wins. Got yourself, Mark. I think it could have been priced better. 1 kid per 1 adult would have been a great offer. That's what it is. James Forrest was giving a lot of the money away from the game last night. He was giving it away as a charity and also giving it away. And you've got to remember that the testimonial game, they will have to pay for the travel arrangements for the other club to come over, I'm sure. I don't think the other club would do it just for free. Anyway, Baz, the Bills going back on the field. Farmer Rogers realised the Bill with the horn. Yep. I think the Rogers is going to, he's going to, he knows there's a section of people that didn't like the way that he left. And no, we're not getting back into that conversation. Right, let's move on. Showed us another side of his game last night. Loved it. Yep, it was. The game last night was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It showed us 1 or 2. God, we're 27 minutes in already. I said to her, we're doing half an hour. Oops. Anyway, right, the game last night did 1 or 2 things. It made sure that all the players got a game, got some 45 minutes into their legs. It showed us, shown us the players that are ready to go back into the first team in both halves. It's shown us players that are maybe not first team ready, but are going to be good players for Celtic. And I just hope that Rocky, what will be interesting if in 2 weeks' time, before the window shuts, if Rocky and Carter Vickers are our main players, will Celtic then put Starfelt up for sale? Because Starfelt's too good a player to be sitting on the bench every week. And I think the fact that Celtic are trying to get someone else, they could be trying to get someone else that is younger, that is more prepared to sit on the bench and just play for game time. Paul, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel this evening. But as open play for those crosses, we have a little height. Dumbelly, scoring heads. Edwards, not really a target man since Hartson and Sutton. No, we haven't. Mark, you're the whinging one, says Lee. Cheers, Michael, about the head last season. What do you do for a living? Must be well paid. Hail from Brecon. I run a business out here, so yep. That's all you need to know. It's all you need to know. It's the same type of business that I ran back in Scotland. So, yeah. 30,000 covers. It wasn't 25 because if you take the amount of kids that were, well, yeah, you could probably say there was 30,000 at 25. That covers that. I think Roger might start Turnbull on Saturday. The Grampian boys, yep. The Grampian bus it's a 5-hour trip just down to Celtic Park, depending on the traffic. You're coming down that bloody road for Aberdeen and you get stuck in traffic. You get stuck at traffic at the top of Dundee. Get stuck in traffic there. So, yeah, I totally have respect for all the buses. The Inverness bus. The Inverness bus comes down. Big Donald that runs Inverness bus, you know, they come down to every game. They're not going to come down to a game on a Tuesday night, a testimonial game. So no, there's all these buses that just are saying, nah, we're not going to go to that game because, let's face it, once the season starts, they're back in it big time. Turnbull will be at a relegation this season under Rodgers, even if it doesn't start the majority of games. I think he'll get 10 goals and assists this season. I think he will score a lot of goals. He seems to be fitter. I think he maybe had some fitness issues last season. And the fact that I don't think Ange fancied him. Me and my dad had a season book when Tommy Burns was manager, right up until Ronnie Dyler. Ronnie was the best season ever, right? Anybody that has had a season ticket during the Ronnie years was an absolute legend. That was the best time to be a Celtic fan. You could get tickets for away games. You could get tickets for the Champions League games away. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, Ronnie Dyler, the original Christmas song, showing shades of Big Sutton. Yep. Well, we're going to be there. Testimonial. Hi, Barry. Owns a bar in Spain. Doesn't sell protein drinks. No, I don't own a bar in Spain. That is the worst investment you could ever make. And plus, I don't stay in an expat area either. So there's not any Brits around here, which is good. I stay in a more Spanish area. And you do need to speak a bit of Spanish to stay in those areas. So, yeah. And there's no English bars. I think there's one English bar within a mile radius to where I say. And nobody goes to it. Anyway, Carter Vickers was extending last night. He was extending. The new Puma Maker has got to Northampton Town. Come on, boys. Get hitting the thumbs up. Yes. Get hitting the thumbs up. I'm going to jump over to the community tab whilst I'm on as well, just to get an update, see if people are voting. Make sure that you do vote, because this is going to be a season long. This will determine when. We're at 61% now, so it looks like we've still only got 71 votes on this. So make sure once the live is finished, that, or if you're watching the live back, jump over to the community tab. So to get onto the community tab, if you click on home for the channel, if you just click on the main page of the channel, and then if you scroll across the top, you'll see videos, you'll see shorts, you'll see live, you'll see playlist, and then you'll see community. Click on that community tab, and then scroll down. The first one will be, and I'm going to keep that. Can you pin that? Pin it. I don't know, you can only do that. That's the worst thing about this platform. You can't pin a post. What time would you like to see the live chats on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Sunday will stay the same at 6 p.m. Because I'm not doing a Sunday any later. But then that also determines if we play on a Sunday, because if we play on a Sunday at 4 o'clock, I'll probably not get back for 6 p.m. So it'll be determined with that. So let's get back to the stream and get started. How do you think Ange Postecoglou will do down at Spurs? Don't care. Being honest, don't care. People going about the way that Brendan Rodgers left. Let's have this conversation, in fact. People slated Brendan Rodgers for walking out on us on the road to 9 in a row. Ange Postecoglou was asked umpteen times. Ange Postecoglou was offered the contract. Fact. And that's fact. Ange Postecoglou was offered the increased wages. Fact. Ange Postecoglou, and this is my mate that sits in the director's box that has told us this, right? So he was offered the contract. That picture that we put up when it was a done deal, that was the day he was offered the deal. And our owner and his son are standing in reception, and the looks on their faces now, you can understand this guy's at it. The guy is at it. So, yeah, the guy is completely at it. And the fact that he kept on pushing it back and say, I've got a job to do. Let's talk about it at the end of the season. Let's get to the cup final. We'll talk about it after the cup final. He knew fine well that he was trying to get out of Celtic. Yet, he's not slated in any way. Not slated in any way. You know, the Spurs job, there was umpteen managers offered the Spurs job, allegedly. They'd been in talks with Spurs. But, you know, then again, people say it was second choice at Celtic. The fact that it was maybe fifth, sixth choice at Spurs, who cares? He's now dead to me. I've deleted all his pictures off my hard drive, and he's in the past. He'll go down as the same type. He's part of our history, like Ronnie Dyler. You know what I mean? So, Ronnie managed to win 2 titles. So did Ange Postecoglou. Wim Janssen won 1 title. You know, that's it. That's it. They'll always be part of our history, but as as what I'm concerned about what he does at Spurs, I don't care. I don't watch English football at all. Anyway, let's move on. I'm going to jump through. Young Odin, very cool head in possession. Yes, I'll move over there. Gives the job as. Nah, I work myself, mate. It's easier working yourself. And I do. I've got a couple of things that I do. And my missus, she works remote also. So the days of working remote are fantastic. And that's probably one of the reasons that we moved here. Anyway, young Odin is very cool headed in possession. The ball distributed well too. Yes, hail, hail, says Naomi. I followed the boys for over 60 years, and this is the best since the late 60s, early 70s, apart from Martin's time when we lost out to Porto. Yes, Somerset Tam. I've probably followed Celtic since the late 70s, since I was a young kid. And I've got to say the 80s was a good time for Celtic. 1988, winning the double in 88 was a fantastic time. My dad was best mates with Roy Aitken at that time. I used to get my tickets from Roy Aitken, which was a bizarre thing. I can remember being in Bobby Lennox's house when I was a kid, having no idea who Bobby Lennox was and the importance he had to Celtic. It was just my dad's mate. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's all these things. Dutch fans were at the game yesterday. Were they? Kevin Leslie, where in Amsterdam did you leave from? What? Still think we need a left back. Don't trust Taylor or Bernabei in the Champions League. That's interesting, Edward, because, you know, the manager that we have does like to improve players. And he's done it his entire career. He's done it at Liverpool. I mean, he turned Suarez from a sort of animal into a good player, and then he went off to Spain for absolutely crazy money. Rodgers' system suits Turnbull, says, love it. Yes, I think it does. I'm going back up the road to get tickets for Celtic matches. I'm going back up the road, but can't get tickets for Celtic matches, saying Martin. I was a season ticket when Dyla was a manager, and you're right. Home and away, Scotland and Europe. Yeah, it was a fantastic time. That was one of the best. They were the best years. Don't care what anybody says. You're a season ticket, home and away in Europe, you know. I can remember going to Malmo away. God. That was a hard one though. You remember that one, Joseph? That was a crazy trip. I actually went to Celtic travel for that trip, which was good. And I went for a couple of guys that are high up in the affiliation at Celtic. Anyway, Baz Spanglish, ole. Hi from, what is it called? Cumbernauld. Hey, right. Anyway, team for Saturday. What do you think, boys? We're not going to talk about the team from Saturday tonight because we're doing a live on Friday, Michael. That's going to be an hour and a half long special. So we're doing a Friday night special, and that will be the one that we talk about who we think is going to play on Saturday, talk about expectations for the season. So we'll miss that out for tonight, Michael, if you don't mind, and we'll talk about that on Friday. The time on Friday will still be 6 o'clock. From the start of the season, it's looking like the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday lives will be, let's just refresh this page. Oh, it's down to 62%. It was at 72. It's down to 62%. There's only 79 votes. So, yep, we'll look at that over the next couple of days. Right. I feel the board forced Rodgers to leave the last time, not backing him in the transfer market. That's pretty much how it went. I could say things, but I would probably be, I don't know. No, there's wide knowledge within the main stand what happens, and that's the main thing. Mate, pint in the pub after a game, you can be forgiven the same as Brenda. That's it. Angela knew in February he was off. Yes, he did. Angela did know he was off in February, and I think that even my missus, right? I mean, she's only been into football since 2000. Because she done a fantastic thing for me during lockdown when Celtic were finally given the honour of winning the league that season. I was coming back from work and she had a surprise party for two, and she had the living room all decked out with balloons, green, white, and yellow balloons, and we had a wee party snacks and everything out, and a nice wee swally for the 2 years. So yeah. Ange moonlighted after the cup final. He did that. Same. And is now history. Look forward. Yes, we do. We look forward. Don't care. Right, let's jump forward. Totally agree about right. That's that. Carter Vickers. Yep, cheers for that, Michael. Yeah, we'll talk about that on on not being at a Celtic away game in Scotland, Sean. That's interesting to go to the ones outside Scotland. Right. Norman. Cameron Carter-Vickers was outstanding, except when he showed his back at both the goals. Yeah, that's something that he never done last season. It wasn't really, and you've got to say that he's been out injured, had that operation on his knee, which will make sure it was his first game back. Just a bit of rustiness from him. That's what I'll say. And to be fair, he should have moved forward a bit so that he closed him. He would do that once he's up. If you've got a Cameron Carter-Vickers up at full fitness, he's running towards that player to slow the gap down. He's never just standing and then turning his back. He's never done that last season. So yeah, Lawwell wanted the compo for Brendan, if you believe the rumours. That is not rumours, that is fact, Ian. That is fact. He wanted the compensation. And look, Brendan had the chance to get some players that season, and Lawwell didn't want them. Wouldn't pay out the money for them. Brendan being the man he was, he informed the club that he would probably like to move on that summer, due to the fact that he wasn't getting the players. And Lawwell knew this. He told Lawwell, and Lawwell basically went, Leicester, have him. He's at the door. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Hello, John Shirley. Hello, John Shirley. Does state of mind have a crackpot state of mind? No idea. Anyway, Baz Dandruff Hart must know his head and shoulders days are numbered. Surely Brendan has the Croatia keeper in mind. It seems that we do have the Croatia keeper in mind, and it's obviously stuff going on in the background because there's no smoke without fire with these things. Don't tell me to bring your head and shoulders. Ha ha. I think we're a bit lightweight. When you look at the Brendan squads before, Brendan does like a team that has a bit more height into it. Now, Rocky is a player that he brought in. Rocky is not a player that was kind of known to Celtic or on the Celtic radar before Brendan came in, that's for sure. So I think it'll be good to see once Brendan starts getting his own players in. Did Cameron Carter-Vickers make a sliding tackle when one of the Athletic players was clear on goal last night? He made a tackle in the box. Yes, he did. He made a tackle in the box, which stopped one of the players having a shot on goal, and it was a typical Carter-Vickers block. So picking out, and that was after the goal. So the rustiness, he would have known that he made that mistake. He would have known that he turned his back, and he never does that. Anyway, let's get some more comments. Any true Celtic supporter must get behind Brendan and the players at the board. Well, I don't think we're all going to get behind the board now. That's a bit. I think there's one person on the board, Nicholson, that has gained the trust of the wider Celtic support. And as a Celtic supporter, nearly 100 million in the bank. I don't think it's 100 million, but there is 40 million cash in the bank. We know that much. We're looking at the books. Hail Celtic fans from Tony. Lawwell was to blame for Rodgers leaving and Lennon not got the players. No, I think Lawwell knew that Lennon had just been sacked from Hibs, remember? And he knew that he could get, they were still good mates. And Lawwell knew, there you go. Lawwell knew that he could get Lennon to come in and finish the job. Should Lennon have stayed for the 10? Probably not. I don't care what you have in the bank. I'd rather see it on the park. It is all about, we're never going to spend 15 million pound on a player because then when you take the wages into consideration, it's there will be players come in before the end of the window. There's too much smoke without the fire, let's say. There's mummerings going on. Someone who's on about Phil Mack was saying that this goalkeeper at Celtic deal is still on the cards, but I've checked all his website and I can't see anything there. So we need a right back. What is Hale? Says Mark Smith. What is Hale? I have no idea. Anyway, I want Kieran Tierney back. That's never going to happen. It's got too much money. There's too much money. Studs Paradise was telling us everybody to stop pressing the button. Right, get doing the thumbs up. How many thumbs up have we got? Right, I need to go on my phone and get the thumbs up, as it does help with the algorithm. Where are we? YouTube. Make sure that you give the video a thumb. There we go. Click on there. Turn it down so you don't hear it. And do that. There. Take away that. 121 thumbs up, and we have over 384 people online. So yeah, get the thumbs up going, people. Right, let's see if I can find any more Celtic news kicking about. Obviously, the road ahead for Brendan as he prayers for a full sellout at Celtic Park this weekend. We do have the early test of playing Aberdeen Kilmarnock. I think that's games that are a must win. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. Let me just check this. Celtic contract, Brendan Rodgers must extend immediately. Celtic attacking options. Brendan Rodgers will finally replace Moy. Nope. No. So the good thing about Celtic just now, when you look at the transfer window, right, and the players that have come in, that we've kind of known about that weren't Brendan players were all the people, the sort of the Asian guys, right? When you look at Rocky, that deal was that far off radar that nobody knew about it. You know, you never had your hail from Rotterdam is in the house. Get in. You never had anybody, or you never had Mr. Transfer Guru on Twitter saying that done deal, you know, before it was actually done. And something says Sky will be great. I just hope that Sky start having a bit more content after the game. Far too much in the past couple of years, well, for years, they finish it almost right after the game. Sometimes not even interviewing the managers, you know, which has been poor for Sky. So let's just hope that Sky have finally got their finger out. And I'm fed up hearing about what we have in the bank. It is the fans' money. We want to see it on the park. Oh, Jim, what age are you? Jesus, no, it's like it's not a case of having it in the bank. It's making sure, it's making sure that the club's financially secure. And you know, we've spent. Look at it this way: you can't just go out and buy. We bought a keeper for 4.5 million, right? We ripped up his contract and let him go for nothing. There's another player that cost us millions that's sitting doing nothing, a Jetty. So there's 10 million pounds that we've basically just ripped up and lost. You know what I mean? That's money down the drain. Then you've got their wages on top of that. Now, these guys are going to be on the best part of 20 grand a week. You know, a Jetty's been around for a couple of years. The keeper was around for a couple of years. You can't just go and spend money willy-nilly and see it on the park, because sometimes you get it wrong. And, you know, even, look, Ange Postecoglou got one wrong and he sent the guy back to Japan. Do you know what I mean? So spending the money, I would rather have a good bank balance with Celtic so that we can still forward plan. They've still got the hotel that we're going to talk about and build. So, you know, I think, Jim, you need to be careful, because let's face it, there's a team across the city that spent willy-nilly and went into liquidation. And what happens with liquidation? You die. You become no longer. And you become a dark shadow of yourself. Anyway, let's get some more comments. Did Sorrow not cost a couple of million? Yes, exactly. Sorrow cost 2 million. It's another 2 million. So there's 12 million. There's 12 million pounds on players since 2000 that we're not going to get the money back for. So you can say that we're actually just breaking even. Jota's made us break even with that. Because, you know, bringing in 10 to 15 million pound players doesn't mean to say that they're going to be good. People pay 10 to 15 million for mediocre players down south that would never get near the Celtic team. Oh, if you guys could see what I could see. Anyway, a Jetty is a parasite. It is that. If you want a quality player, you have to spend over 10 million these days. Not necessarily. We didn't spend that for Kyogo. We didn't spend that for Dyson. We didn't spend that for Tati. So, Mark, when you say things like that, you know, these guys could possibly improve much more. I don't think Ange Postecoglou was the type of player, a type of manager to improve players. I thought Ideguchi was loaned back to a Japanese team. Yes, he is loaned back to a Japanese team, but we still paid money for him. We loaned him back to a Japanese team because he wasn't good enough for us. You know, we've loaned out Ajeti, we've loaned out Soro, so he's in the same bracket. So, you know, it is a case that Ange Postecoglou and not every one of his signings was absolutely fantastic. Right, the 10 million was spent came from sales, not investment. The 10 million we have spent has come from player sales. The only player we've sold has been Jota. We do still have money in the bank. No more Swiss players. Yes, no more Swiss players, says Kenneth. Get that one up. I'm talking about Europe, pal. We need more quality for Europe, not the league. But Kyogo was brought in because Ange thought he could do a turn in Europe, not just Scotland. Ange was trying to get to a team in Europe. He knew that he was trying to get a team in Europe, right? So be it Scotland, be it Germany, whatever, right? He was planning to try and get a job in Europe. And he knew, and Ange is on record saying this, he knew that Kyogo could do a turn for him for a team in Europe. So he obviously thought he had that quality to be able to make it in the Champions League, right? Because he's obviously aiming at that high. Anyway, James, we've spoken about that, John. We're not even going to talk about it anymore. The first 20 minutes against Athletic. Yeah. Right, here's one. Yeah. And there's another one. James McCarthy. Jesus. The enigma that is James McCarthy. You know, he's been at Celtic for a few years now, and you know, he's in that same bracket now as Ajeti and Soro. You're quite right, Michael the boy. Getting paid good money to stand. You know, you've never even seen James McCarthy. So he's another one, unfortunately, has to go. Sam Mack, who was the player we were trying to get, but the team wouldn't let him go till the end of their season. That was a Chinese boy, was it not? That was a Chinese boy at Christmas time. But then we went for O instead. We're miles off in Europe. The European teams right now, we're miles off in Europe. Ange was shown up in Europe. He showed his naivety of European football. It's okay playing the way that Ange played in Asia, and he knew how it was going to go. But, you know, Champions League was a step up for Ange Postecoglou. Playing the way he did in the Scottish League, he went in. Everybody said before we even went into the Scottish League, you know, he went in and said that you're going to have to defend more. You're going to have to defend more in the Scottish League, and the fact that we didn't do that, you know, it was part of it. It's okay for Real Madrid to come out and say, Celtic played fantastic for half an hour in the first half at Celtic Park, and then they turned up and then switched on. They do what Real Madrid do, start playing football. And so yeah, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. You know, I'm sure Brendan will try and make us a lot better in Europe and a lot more defensive minded. What is the European quality? Unless you're top 10, it's the players on our level. We now need to defend. Yes, and that was our problem last year. Exactly, Martin. It's just what I just said. It's actually just what I said. Fabian Ryder, a Swiss, and keep hearing about him. Yep, we do keep hearing about him, but the fact that deal's not went through either. Do you think Tete will join? No idea. I don't think he is a Brendan signing. Let's get some more. Still need a few quality players in who are first team ready. Going by a show in the first half last night, yes. But when you look at the squad overall, love it. When you look at the players that played the second half, who dominated that game second half, who played a bit more like Celtic, players that had been there a bit longer, not so much maybe the new guys that come in. Well, Yang, you could probably say that he had a good game. Odin had a good game. Players that played the second half, marry them with the good players that played the first half, and you've got a good first team. You know, so getting worried about the team this season, I'm not getting too worried. The team won a treble last year. We haven't changed the team much. We've lost 2 players at the team that won a treble. Right? People are getting a bit excited about that. And you've got to give the guys the respect that won that treble. There's only 2 players that's left. A couple of players are injured. Once they come back, it'll be absolutely fine. Time Alistair Johnson comes back into the team, all will be forgotten. Let's see what happens in Europe with the limited investment. I still think there will be about another 20 million spent before the end of the transfer window. I've just got a sneaky feeling Barcelona. Well, fuck off. Anyway, right. Napoli sniffing about him. Sniffing about who? James McCarthy should be sued by the club as a fraud. Guy McCarthy to Hamilton. Yeah, give him back to Hamilton. We should have got him when he was at Hamilton. That was another thing that Lawwell didn't want to do. Sevco Miss Arfield don't care by James McCarthy, even though Tim. Where did that one go? Let me just see. James McCarthy is a bit of a tin man. The Wizard of Oz has moved. More than Brendan should give him his own can. Right. We should be raiding teams that drop out of the Premier League. Would you? They drop it. They tend to drop out the Premier League for a reason. There is a winger that a Brazilian winger that was at Leicester that we've been talking about, but that's for your swear jar bars. Yes, and I think the swear jar maybe cost me last night on the live, so I need to watch that. I thought Brendan played and system second half. No, I think the players in the second half just did what they were told. If you look at what Brendan said, he said the players, the first half were a bit off, as he said. The passing wasn't good. He thought that was the best. He thought he was putting out the best team first half. And the players that came in second half did a lot better. Was McCarthy not a DD signing in the Irish link? I have no idea. Amatorial free. We're a Mickey Mouse league. This is, yeah, we are in a. When you look at it that way, but I mean, it is what it is. You can only play what is in front of you. Do you think that the Dutch league complain about all the other teams that are in that? Do you think the teams in Belgium complain about the teams that are there? Do you think that teams in France, outside the big two in France, complain about it? Do you think that, when Elche were in the La Liga, Elche finished 13th 2 seasons ago, and they were the whipping boys. Do you think that Barcelona and Real Madrid complain about the teams that they're playing against? I don't think so. Do you know what I mean? So it's only the English that have this Farmers League mentality that calls Scottish football the Farmers League. There is some good players that can come through. So, yeah, I never knocked the Scottish League. It can be a bit of a bore fest when teams sit back. I think that's the thing that's came into the game since Brendan Rodgers came in first time round. A lot of teams just sat back because we were that good. The invincible season has a lot to answer for, as does Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers has a lot to answer for. And he's came back with a bag of cans and a bag of cash. So, yeah, I think it's fact that a lot of managers, and the problem with the Scottish League is the manager rotations. Derek McInnes achieved absolutely nothing at Aberdeen, and then he walks into the commandant job, just like that, and it happens all too often. Managers just swap around. Clubs aren't prepared to give up managers a go in the Scottish League, and that's always been the problem. It's always been the problem. You can go back to the 80s when Dundee United were giving players 10-year contracts, which was unheard of. But all they were doing were protecting their assets. They were just protecting their assets so they couldn't go for cheap money. So anyway, Richie Boy says, I don't live in Scotland. I live in Holland and Belgium. I live in other places in Europe now. Our league is abysmal. Yeah, the level of the league right now is an all-time low. And that goes back to Richie Boy, exactly what I just spoke about. The fact that managers play these systems. No, you've got a guy that was in jail playing in our league, managing in our league. You know what I mean? He was in jail for drug dealing, for goodness sake. Do you know what I mean? So that would never happen anywhere else. Well, maybe Saudi. But yeah, and it's the managers. I mean, what football experience does that bring to you? The managers have a lot to answer for in the Scottish game, and the fact that owners they give some up and coming managers a little chance, but then they never stick by them. Stephen Glass was chased out of Aberdeen. He was done. The exact same happened to Roy Aitken at Aberdeen as what happened to Stephen Glass. Roy Aitken could have went on to. I mean, Roy Aitken had a fantastic career in management that people don't know about. He was assistant manager for years. He made all his money in Dubai before all these ones jumped ship to Saudi. So Roy Aitken worked in Dubai for years, and that's where he made all his money. So, the Scottish League, and the owners of the Scottish football teams have a lot to answer for. And they're killing the game. They are killing the game. The away allocation, about protecting their own fan base, they're just fed up of hearing Celtic fans out singing them and then their fans leaving early. Spot on, Baz. Avoid relegation with McInnes. Yep. APL. Those crap. Most European leagues are dominated by 2 or 3 teams. Exactly. But it's only in Scotland do you have this narrative of it's a 2-team league, it's a farmers' league, but English fans saying that. And the worst thing is there's a lot of Scottish fans that watch English football and go to English football. I grew up with a guy that was at school that was a Celtic fan. He played for Rovers in his younger days, and he used to run buses down to Man United. Do you know what I mean? And then he denied that he was a Celtic fan. You're talking nonsense, mate. Anyway, let's move on. Maloney, never going to have a chance. Yeah, another one. Look at the experience Maloney had, right? The international experience Maloney had. But when in Scotland, if it doesn't go for you, do you know what I mean? If your club owners, don't even get me about the stadiums, because, I mean, stadiums in Scotland are just an absolute nightmare. Dundee United away, right? If you've been to away games, Dundee United away toilets is the same toilet they had back in the 1970s. It doesn't even have a shitter in it, right? Dundee United away. You've got, it's still the old stone shed. So even Willie Miller got the sack, and he's a legend at Aberdeen. Yep. Should never be in a league. Yep, he shouldn't. Livy. They will do well to hold on to Martindale. He's a great manager with no money. But then he's came out this week and he said that he reckons he could be sacked, and he reckons he could be back on the building sites. Don't know what he's going to do on the building sites, but yeah, she could sure have wait, of course. Brian, St Johnstone away is bad as well. Yep, St Johnstone away, that's bad. And this is why. One, I mean, I brought up my 2 daughters going to the football. I mean, my daughters went to every Celtic home game for years, absolutely years, and never took them away games because the facilities at away games are absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Celtic need to improve stadium stand, like the North Stand is dump. Probably just needs a lick of paint and a power wash. That's the honest answer. I think Celtic do need to spend more on. I mean, it just needs a good power wash on an ongoing basis, and especially inside the ground. And I don't think it's something that they do. Hail from Jerry Boy from Scotland's View Park. St Johnstone, the team to go down this season, back on the building sites, selling gear and oops. Oh my goodness! Right, we went on for over an hour. We have went on for over an hour. How did that one sneak in tonight? I was only coming on for half an hour. Remember, if you have nothing wrong with rectal toilets, Baz, it's the toilet holding the candle. Jeremy Young, that's what's the best away ground that you've been away to? Ibrox thinks it does. The best away ground, I'd actually say Malmo in Europe. That was a fantastic ground. It was 20,000 seater stadium, and it was all enclosed. That was a fantastic ground. For Scottish football grounds, there isn't a decent Scottish football ground. I mean, even Hearts, it's a crap ground. There's the best one, I would say, small ground. I mean, I've been to Ajax and everything. I've been to Barcelona. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of European bigger games. But when you look at it from a Scottish perspective and put it into comparison, Malmo away was a tidy little ground. I mean, 20,000 seater ground. It wasn't like a Scottish ground where it was 4 stands. It was a proper stadium, proper miniature stadium. And that was brilliant. So anybody that went to Malmo back in the day would know that. And there was another ground that we played. Let me think about it. And I can't remember right now. Hearts wasn't too bad away at the end of the day when it was a full stand. Yeah, Govan stinks. I got reeks. Borussia Dortmund away ground. Yep, that's a cracking ground as well. Borussia Dortmund's a cracking ground. But try and compare the grounds that you've been to compared to Scottish grounds and what Scottish grounds could do. This concept of just building 4 stands in Scottish grounds is just cheap. It's nasty. And I think they could do so much better. I haven't been to Malmo and seen that was just a 1-tier stadium that went right round, and it had a fantastic posh seated area also, and it had stands for the Prawn Sandwich Brigade. Right, that's it. We're over an hour. We have been on long enough. Make sure PSG was my first away game in '94. That was a long time ago. EPL has a security complex. I wonder where that comes from. The EPL has a security complex because of the money. San Siro, yeah, it's a fantastic ground as well. Fort William, fabulous for an island views, mountains. Old Trafford. I've been to Old Trafford when years ago. I first went in the early 2000s, and it's a decent ground. But when I'm trying to put a comparison on the grounds that I've been to, and what can be done in the Scottish game, how Scottish teams could have their grounds. You look at Falkirk. There's 2 stands. You know what I mean? It's nuts. Yeah, the tall cranes. There's a couple of lads fighting. Anyway, right. That is us. We're done and dusted. There are 340 people online just now. If I can ask everyone when this live finishes, is to come off the live, click on the channel, and then click on home on the channel, and then click on the community tab. So that's, you've got home, videos, shorts, live, playlist, community tab. Scroll down, and then we'll have 87 votes at the moment, and 10% of the votes, Madrid, you can go away. 10% of the votes are for 5 p.m. 28% of the votes are for 6 p.m. 62% of the votes are for 7 p.m. Now, these times on a Wednesday, if it is going to be 7 p.m., will all be dependent on the fact if there is a game that evening. If there's a game that evening, it won't be an hour-long video. It might just be a half hour once the team has come out. So make sure that you go over to that, and then yes, it does, Ernest. It does. It does. Another cracking show. Let's get the last comment up. Another cracking show. Boys, onwards and upwards. The show would be absolutely nothing without you. I mean, you could do a live and not bring up any of these comments, and you would just be sitting talking to yourself. I don't want to do that. I think the fact that these lives do go on for an hour is fantastic, and it's all down to the Celtic fans all around the world. Ajax Stadium was amazing the last time we ever won. It was half one. I remember Peter played Ajax a couple of times in the space of a couple of years. Yeah, remember the Fenian lamppost. They were brilliant times, absolutely brilliant times. Anyway, right, that is it for the comments. Let's go up and get this off. Make sure that you do go over to the community tab and vote for what time you want the lives to be at for the rest of the season. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to be doing lives, and on a Sunday, the Sunday will be staying at 6 o'clock. So with that being said, have a great day, great night, great evening, wherever you are around the world, Celtic fans. Have a great night, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party.